all, when I talk about anxiety, you're often going to hear me talking about grounding yourself, and that's basically the process of kind of coming down to earth after a panic attack. Common symptoms of a panic attack include lightheadedness, dizziness, and depersonalization, which I can suffer from pretty badly. And basically, depersonalization is when you stop feeling like an actual human being. You feel like I describe it as kind of feeling like I'm floating through time and space. I feel like I'm out of my body. And it's very, very scary, and it's very important to ground yourself when this happens. I'm going to talk about my tips for grounding yourself, and if you have any of your own, leave them in the comments, because everybody experiences anxiety differently, and everybody has different tips and tricks that might help somebody else. The first thing that I really use to ground myself is probably going to sound very silly. I drink water, and I do this for 3 reasons. First of all, I find the act of swallowing to be grounding. Swallowing reminds me that I am an actual human being with an actual body, and it just adds pressure to my throat, and I find it to be very relaxing. Second of all, a major phobia of mine is emetophobia, and if you're unfamiliar with that, it means the fear of vomiting. And so I find that when I drink water, it reassures myself that I'm not about to projectile vomit everywhere. And also, it can calm your tummy if your tummy is feeling a bit upset, as mine often does during panic attacks. And it can fix your dry mouth, it can take pressure off of your jaws, all that stuff. And the third reason is that I just find the sensation of filling your mouth and swallowing and water and all that stuff to be very calming. I drink mostly water. I drink like 90% water, a lot of water, very efficient kidneys. So to me, it's just comforting. It's really hard to explain, but if any of this sounds like it may apply to you, then I really recommend that you try to drink water. I find it very helpful and grounding. Another thing that I do a lot, and I do this just as a nervous habit in general, I always have, always will, is I play with my hair. Now you'll notice me kind of rearranging or whatever, and that's just because I don't think it looks nice, or I'm just tired of it being where it currently is. But when I'm having anxiety, I'll often take all of my hair and wrap it up on top of my head, like this. Sometimes I stop here, like if I'm in school or something, but most of the time, I'll wrap it around and adding a lot of pressure to the top of my head, and it comes undone. But if I have a scrunchie or a hair tie, I'll just cinch it in place, and if I don't, then whatever. And that adds pressure, and I find pressure to be very grounding. In fact, applying pressure to your body has been found to help autistics, as well as sufferers of extreme anxiety, calm down from panic attacks. I don't know what it is, I'm not a medical professional, but it seems like putting pressure or just squeezing yourself can really, really help you. And I like to do that by messing with my hair so that it pulls really tightly on my head. It's probably not the healthiest thing, but it helps. And it's not like I'm doing this every 3 seconds. I do it when I'm having very bad panic attacks. Most often in school, where I don't really have an escape, kind of, and I'm stuck. The last thing that I personally really like to do is like menial tasks that distract some part of your brain so that you kind of have time to think, but not think enough that it's going to send you further into a panic attack. By this, I basically mean playing iPhone games. 2048. 2048 is so calming. Put 2048 on, put some very calming, quiet music on in the background, lay down, put some pressure on yourself, and just sit there and slide numbers across the screen, and you'll feel so much better. Other examples of this may be organizing something, kind of like as long as it's not organizing something that will make you more stressed out. For example, I wouldn't recommend organizing schoolwork if you're having a panic attack about school. But reorganizing the books on your shelf, stacking something, just anything menial that seems kind of silly but can distract you long enough so that you can breathe and calm yourself down. And it'll help if you, say, have somebody talking to you, but I often find that somebody talking to me during a panic attack is not the best course of action for me. This is different depending on everybody, but I have hypersensitivity in the auditory and visual sense, which means I can become very easily overstimulated, and during a panic attack situation, it makes everything so much worse. So if I'm trying to calm down from a panic attack and I'm playing 2048 and I'm drinking water and I'm doing my hair and somebody's talking to me, too many things are happening at once. I need to calm down, center myself, and focus on one thing. And I find small menial tasks to be the best thing to focus on because it doesn't require much brain power, but at the same time it requires some, and it will distract me. The last tip I have isn't really something that I do a lot, but I know it can be very helpful, and I do it sometimes, and that's just like touching things. That sounds so weird. But like touching, grabbing, anything that's real and tangible, as tight as you can. This really helps with depersonalization because it reminds you where you are, what's going on, what's real and what's not. So, I like to do this to my wrist. I like to feel my pulse, which grew out of a childhood fear of death. So I find feeling my pulse to be very comforting. I just put my hand over my chest like that. So a stress ball might be good if you could just have like a little stress ball that you could carry around, or if you're in school or in a pinch, just like an eraser or something like that. Anything that kind of just gives you another focal point for your body to focus on and to ground you. If you don't really experience anxiety, the process of grounding probably doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you do experience anxiety, hopefully you know what I'm talking about. And maybe this has helped you realize that maybe you are experiencing anxiety because these are things that you do to calm yourself down. These can work for people that don't have anxiety but are experiencing anxiety in situations where everybody experiences anxiety, like before a big performance or before a big test. But it can also help for those that experience anxiety and get panic attacks in the stupidest, silliest situations, like I do. I don't really think you need examples if you suffer from anxiety because you'll understand what I'm talking about, but just remember that anxiety as an emotion is different from anxiety as a disease, but these can help for either. If you like this video and you want to see more like this in the future, remember to thumbs up, drop a comment, and subscribe.